What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and today I just wanted to bring you an updated Trickstar deck profile for the new format now that we have both Flames of Destruction and Dark Saviors League on, so we're fully into our Nat season, so I just want to share my updated version of this deck. And to be honest, Trickstar is a deck that a lot of people are sleeping on right now, but it's far from dead. It's still very viable, and it has like not bad matchups against anything. It's able to play against everything. And so that's really something that you want out of a deck like Trickstar, something that's been able to survive this long, so many ban lists, so many formats, and it's still going to survive this format as well. And so let's go ahead and get into the list, but before getting started, please go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and go ahead and click that notification bell so that you will be notified when I upload more content. And so again, let's go ahead and get started. And so we're going to start with the Trickstar monsters. So we're going to have 3 Candina, 3 Lyco, and 1 Lilybell. This is pretty much standard in every single Trickstar list. Next, we're going to move into the hand traps, and for those I play 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Drolls, and then 3 Ghost Ogres. I think Ash Blossom is a 3 of in pretty much every deck right now. It's so useful against every matchup against Brandish, or Sky Strikers I should say. It's good against Spiral, it's good against Goki. It's really just all around good against everything. Droll is also really good in most matchups. Outside of also just being useful for the Droll Reincarnation play, it's also just by itself good against most opposing decks. Like, it's going to stop your opponent from resolving multiple engages, or all the Goki effects, or the full Spiral combos. Like, it's going to save you a lot of games, aside from just being like the Droll Reincarnation thing. That's just a cherry on top, but Droll itself is just a very good card. Next we have 3 Ghost Ogres, and the Ghost Ogre is something that I'm sort of wavering back and forth on. On one hand, I really like having the extra defense. Like, I feel like we need more hand traps in this deck, and you don't really want to play actual traps unless they're really, really good, because they're just going to lose the tough agent, or they're not going to do anything when going second versus a full Spiral or Goki board. So if you have defense, you want it to be something that you can also use going second. So I do like Ogre in that regard, and I'm choosing it over cards such as Veiler or Ghost Bell or any of the other hand traps, because it's better in more matchups, I think, and it clears the card off of your opponent's board, which is especially good in Trickstars. But that's it for the hand traps, or at least the monster hand traps. The only other monsters that I play are 2 Eater of Millions, and I really think Eater of Millions is good this format because it allows you to out essentially anything. And I think in every deck you have to have an out to the Nightmare boards. Like, you have to be able to go second against Spiral and Goki and out their board, and this is one of the ways to do it. Like, you could summon this, attack into any of their Nightmare cards, and it's going to banish it face down. None of the Nightmares protect you from that, so I think that's actually really useful. And also the fact that it's a special summon allows you to still make your Trickstar plays afterwards. And so I really do like Eater of Millions a lot more than Honest, because Honest doesn't do anything if they have Nightmare Phoenix on board. And so I'm not a big fan of Honest right now. Not many things can be destroyed by battle, and even if you are destroying something by battle, I'd much rather banish it face down instead. For the spell cards, we have a really standard spell lineup of 3 Light Stage, 3 Terraforming, 3 Scapegoat, and 3 Pot of Desires. That's all pretty standard. The only other card I play that's a spell is 1 Upstart Goblin. For the traps, 3 Reincarnations, 3 Torrential Tributes, and then 3 Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is sort of like another hand trap, and so I do like it in that regard, but it's also pretty good when you set it to, and a lot of people forget that it cuts off everything in the entire column, even cards that aren't played yet. And so sometimes people will forget what column you play this in, and then they'll just activate something in the same column. And it's not going to happen often, but it's a little thing that comes up just enough for you to actually notice it and then use it. Something that's also really good to note is that against Brandish or Sky Strikers, they're going to set like things in columns that you know they're in. So you're going to know where they set things with multi-roll. You're going to know what cards are in their hand usually. And so when they set it, you're going to know what it is and where it is. And then they're also just going to have multi-roll on board. Setting this in one of the columns that's going to negate something to stop you can be really useful, or using it to negate a multi-roll. And so, like, for example, if you know your opponent sets a Widow Anchor in a certain column, you can set Impermanence in the same column and then negate one of their monsters or one of your own monsters, and then stop that Widow Anchor from negating your own, like the play that you're trying to make. Or you can set it where they just set an engage with multi-roll, and then on your opponent's turn they're going to try to use that engage. You can go ahead and negate a monster that's on the field and then also stop that engage. And so you really come to appreciate the setting effect in that matchup. And so that's it for the main deck. Mostly pretty standard. We have the 7 Trickstar monsters, about 12 hand traps counting Impermanence, and then triple Torrential, triple Reincarnation, pretty standard, Scapegoat and all that. Let's move on to the extra deck where we have 1 Link Haribo and 1 Link Spider. I think at this point you need one of each just because the Nightmares require different monster names. And so it's better than having like 2 link Rebos or 2 link spiders. I think you really need one of each, because you also can't link for a nightmare with 2 tokens, 2 scapegoat tokens. So these come up actually a lot. 1 Holly Angel for your, you know, whenever you need to get over a big monster, more or less, like a tough. This comes up a lot when you need to get over a tough or a super agent or a double helix or something like that. Holly Angel is actually really good for putting damage on board too at times. 1 Mrs. Radiant for the scapegoat plays. And then we have the full nightmare setup of 1 Phoenix, 1 Goblin, 1 Cerberus, and 1 Unicorn. I'm not playing Mermaid because Mermaid doesn't really come up within your combos, and it's only really good for 2 reasons actually. So it's good if you're playing Ibly, so you can summon Ibly from the deck to get another monster name on board. But it's also really good when your opponent extra links you, or not extra links you, but when they give you Ibly and it locks you down and you're not extra linked, I should say, then you could summon Mermaid with the Ibly that they give you, allowing you to special summon again. And so it's good in that scenario as well, but I didn't feel that I didn't want to play Ibly first of all, so that wasn't happening. But then also if my opponent extra linked me, or I keep thinking extra linked, but if they give me Ibly and they went off that hard, even if I can get rid of their Ibly, it's going to be hard to get over their board anyways. And so I didn't want to commit extra deck slot to that, because your extra deck is actually pretty tight. Otherwise though, the nightmares are really, really good. I mean, you're getting ways to destroy all of your opponent's cards, like Phoenix hitting back row, Cerberus hitting monsters, Unicorn can shuffle things back into the deck. It's just insane. And then Goblin gives you extra normal summons, and so you can summon multiple Candinas, get multiple search effects. It's actually ridiculous. And so when you resolve Scapegoat, I mean, before Scapegoat was always good, but now it's like almost always game, because you're able to clear your opponent's boards with these effects and then also get extra summons in as well. And so they sort of serve as like breakers and extenders all in one. So Scapegoat is actually insane. Next we play 1 Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior, and this is for clearing opponent's boards because it's very similar to Unicorn, but Unicorn you have to discard a card, and Ningirsu doesn't target, but you have to send something from the field to the graveyard. And sometimes you just don't want to discard it, so you might have a hand trap in your hand that you don't want to discard, or Ningirsu might be a little bit better. Also, Ningirsu is a little harder to make because it requires 2+ link monsters, whereas Unicorn can just be anything with different names. So Unicorn can be like a scapegoat token and, you know, whatever link to, but Ningirsu you'd have to link that token into something else, which is not always possible. And so they both come up in different scenarios, but I like having them both in the deck. Next we have 1 TOPOLOGIC TRISBAENA. This is really good, and you're going to see an interesting tech card I play in the side deck to help summon this more often actually, but I like this in the mirror match and against Altergeist or any deck that plays a lot of back row, because you can trigger the effect of banish all spells and traps relatively easily. And even if you can't, a lot of times you can like bluff opponents into not setting back row. They might just set like a couple back row, and if they set just a few number of back rows, then usually light stage can handle most of that. And so even if you can slow down them setting like 5 back row, light stage is going to help you deal with like the 2 that they might set. And so I do like this card a lot. Next, 1 Nightmare Griffin. Griffin is iffy. It's something that I was considering taking out the main because it doesn't come up very often, but when it does come up, you really appreciate that you have it, especially that skill drain effect, as well as the effect to set something back on the field. And so sometimes you can reset a scapegoat or reset a reincarnation. There have been games where I've set reincarnation where I needed that little bit of burn, so that's been really good. Sometimes you can set a torrential tribute when that might be the only thing to stop your opponent from killing you, resetting impermanence. There are a lot of really good things you can set in this deck, and so Griffin does come up. But if there was going to be a card I would cut, it would probably be this. Like, it's good. Like, I wish I could play 16 or maybe 17 cards. Next we have 1 Firewall. Firewall is really good for, one, you can use the effect defensively or offensively, the bouncing effect, but it's also really good for the OTK. And if you guys are unfamiliar with the OTK that you can do with Scapegoat and Firewall, I did make a video on that, and I will put a link to that on the screen. But if your opponent has a monster with more attack than a Lycoris on board and you have Scapegoat, that's game. Always game. So that's pretty awesome. I think you have to play it. And then finally, 1 BORRELOAD and 1 SARYUJA. Both of those are also relatively necessary. Like, you need a BORRELOAD to out opposing boards, more or less. Like, you do have Torrential Tribute, you have Eater of Millions, but sometimes you gotta out it with Scapegoat too. And SARYUJA is another option for something to potentially take out, because it's very rare that you get the effect to draw forward. But when you do, it's so good, because you're drawing in those hand traps, and you might draw into Droll Reincarnation, another Scapegoat, etc. So it's just really good, but it doesn't come up as often. So that's also an option for deletion, or removal, I should say, maybe. And the final card we play is the only non-link monster in the extra deck, and that is one Phantom Knight of Breaksword. It comes up to make with 2 Lycoris, and usually you can use it to out back row monsters or anything that's just in the way, maybe Floodgate. It's just really, really good in general. It's very versatile, so I like having it for sure. For the side deck, we're going to start with the traps, then spells, then monsters. We have 3 evenly matches from when we go second against those combo decks. 3 Rivalry of Warlords, which I really like this format. It's really good against Spiral because they have different types. Like Master Plan is a different type than Double Helix, which is a different type than I think Sleeper. I don't know what Sleeper is actually, but I know Master Plan's like a spellcaster, and then Double Helix is a warrior. So it's really good against them. It's good against Goki, I would imagine, because their warriors and nightmares are fiends. I think, yeah, nightmares are fiends. And then Isolde is a warrior, Firewall is a dragon, or Firewall is Cyberus actually, so it's good against them. It's good against Sky Strikers because Ray is a warrior, but the Lynx are not warrior, they're machine. And so it's good against them. It's good against most matchups actually, but it's something that we can play around because most of our monsters are all fairy. And now it does kind of conflict with Scapegoat, but even then you can sort of play around that to an extent. Like if you have both, and obviously you have to be a little bit careful with both of them. But it's something that we can play around because we control the cards. Like we have the power and the control in that scenario. So it's not that bad. Just gotta play smart. Next there are 3 Cosmic Cyclones. This is for the mirror match and for Altergeist. I really wavered between this and Heavy Storm Duster. But I felt that Cosmic Cyclone was better because they can loop their trap cards back with Siliquidus. And so I really wanted to banish them in most cases. I didn't want any sort of shenanigans going on. I'm fine 1-for-1ing versus +1ing there, because the recursion is just so good in that deck, and I just think it's better. Also, the fact that you can use it on your own turn makes it better going second as well. And so that little bit of versatility sort of makes up for the lack of card advantage that you're getting out of it. This was something I was also considering in the main deck, because it is good in other matchups too. Like it is good against Spiral for hitting Resort, or hitting Big Red, or hitting the rescue or the mission cards. 'Cause sometimes that can really stop their combos. Or it's also good against that's not good against Koki, but it's also good against Brandish. You can hit the field spell, you can hit multi-roll. When they set cards in multi-roll or set their Widow Anchors, you can hit those as well. And then banishing their spells is way better than destroying them, because everyone that goes to the graveyard, they still have infinite access to pretty much, and it still counts as a spell in the graveyard, boosting most of their effects. But banishing them is really, really big. The next 2 cards were things that I was sort of unsure about. I just want to test them out for the most part, and those are Mistaken Accusation and Mistaken Arrest. And so if you're unfamiliar with them, Mistaken Accusation is that when your opponent has more cards than you do, you target one face-up card in the field and neither player can use it for the rest of the duel. And I thought that was actually really, really cool, because you can use this against, I thought about it for Sky Strikers, but you can use it, I guess, against a lot of decks that just plus a lot. But especially against Sky Strikers, you can like chain this to an Engage so they can never use Engage again, or you can chain it to one of the links so they can never use them again. And that deck gets so much card advantage that it's easy for them to have more cards than you, so it can potentially come up a lot. And so I like it in theory. I just want to test it to be sure about it, but I just want to share this with you guys. Also, Mistaken Arrest. Until the end of your next turn after this card resolves, neither player adds from the deck to the hand except by drawing until it stops Engage. It stops Shizuku, so I like both of these actually. I'm not sure which one to play or even how strong they both might be, but I thought they were both interesting to try. Next is something really, really juicy that I like, and that is Trickstar Light Arena. And so Trickstar Light Arena's effect is that if you link summon a Trickstar monster, target one Trickstar in your graveyard, use for the material, and special summon it back. And then it has a really similar effect to Light Stage, where you target a set spell or trap. They either have to activate it, or in the end phase send it to the hand. So it's a little different than Light Stage, which sends to the graveyard, this returns to the hand, so it's not quite as good in that regard. But I'm playing it for the first effect, and the reason I like it is that it turns Candina into a Link 3. And so what you do is you have Light Stage, or Light Arena, I'm sorry. You have Light Arena on the board, you summon Candina, search and summon Lilybell, and then you link for Holly Angel, then you special summon back one of them to Holly Angel's link point. Holly Angel goes up to 22, and then it also deals 200, but then also, you link again with both of those in the Topologic TRISBAENA, and then if you have a Reincarnation, you would use the Reincarnation to summon back one of them on your opponent's turn and destroy all their back, or banish all their back row. And so I really like that play against trap decks or anything that's setting a lot of spells and traps. And so it's just a little cheeky play that I've been trying out lately, and I've come to enjoy it actually. Like, it just gives you really easy access to your link plays. So you can also use that to make like a Nightmare Unicorn, or you have a lot of options really. If you have Scapegoat, it turns Scapegoat plus Candina into 6 link materials to 7 link materials. Sometimes that makes a difference. So it just gives you 1 extra link material whenever you're making your link plays. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think you should try it. And so the last 3 cards, those spells were all kind of like things to try and think about. The next 3 cards are actually good that I side, and those are 2 Kaijus and 1 Akashic Magician. And so I think the Kaijus are really good this format because, again, you have to be able to go second against those Nightmare boards. You can't afford to lose the die roll against Goki or Spiral and not have the way to play through that board, or else you just lose, and you don't want to lose like that. You also need ways to get over big monsters, things of that nature, and I really like the Kaijus for doing that. But the cool thing about Akashic Magician is that you can bounce the Kaijus back to your hand, and it's easy to make because all you need are 2 monsters with the same type. And so if you have a Candina, you just summon Candina, search summon Lilybell, make Akashic, bounce the Kaiju back, and then you can Kaiju something else. And so that can be really, really useful. And so this is pretty much it, guys. This has been my updated Trickstar deck profile for the new format. Now that we, we have Flames of Destruction legal, we have Dark Saviors out, we have this new ban list just taking effect a couple of days ago, and so we have a brand new format, and so it's really exciting to move into these uncharted waters. And so for those of you playing Trickstars, I hope that this gives you maybe some ideas. I think the side deck is especially pretty interesting. And if you're not playing Trickstars, maybe this will show you what a lot of Trickstar players are playing, what they're thinking, some things to look out for. You'll know that they're playing a lot of hand traps. Know that Eater of Millions is a potential out. Know that when they set something, it's either going to be Reincarnation, Torrential, or Scapegoat most likely. Like Transience is a possibility, but some people will hold that in hand. But remember that it's like those main 4 things to play around. So you have hand traps, those 4, and remember they have a lot of extra deck options. So when Scapegoat resolves, know that you might be getting your board cleared, so if they summon the tokens, try to get rid of those tokens. So I hope this gives everybody some things to think about when it comes to Trickstars. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the comment section below. I try to reply to all the comments. I try to share my thoughts with you guys, both in these videos, in the description, and in the comment sections. Also anywhere on social media, if you guys can always message me there. You guys can always get on Duel Link Book. I'm probably on there most of the time. Shoot me a message on there too. Or even if you guys just want to duel, that's fine too. And so, again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.